Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. Betty, we are in a wonderful little village, right?
We certainly are. We're in the village of Oberammergau, which is a delightful place to be, and it's every 10 years that you go here. Can you believe that?
Yeah. You know, the Passion Play here has been going on for centuries, and I'll tell you, this is so wonderful. This is the second time that I have seen the Passion Play. And this year was a little bit different. It was staged a little bit different than it was 10 years ago. And very, very interesting, though. We should explain to our viewers that the Passion Play is done in the German language. And you do have a libretto that you can follow. One side's in German, the other side is in English.
It's not really difficult.
No, not at all, because you already know the story.
I was going to say, you do know the story, or if you don't, you wouldn't probably be there. So it follows along nicely. I often thought, though, it would be fun to have it in English, so you don't have to move your eyes from one to the other. It would have been more convenient, but it was easily done and easily understood.
Oh, yes. And it was brilliantly done this year. Very, very effective, I think.
Did you like it better this year than 10 years ago?
Well, you know, that's a difficult question to answer, because I liked it 10 years ago, and I liked some of the changes that they did this time. Sometimes I think, though, the first time that you see something, that sticks with you, a little bit more.
I didn't care for such bright colors of the robes, but that was just my opinion. The play itself was fantastic.
It really was.
The actors were superb.
What you're seeing right now are just the buildings in the village, and you can see that they are painted here. And this is really, really wonderful. In this garden, I thought I just had to get a shot of this. I thought this was magnificent.
Isn't that amazing?
It really
It was amazing.
We're going to see a little bit about the history and see some of the characters from the Passion Play. So let's listen to it right now.
Every 10 years, for nearly 4 centuries, a small town in the Bavarian Alps has collaborated in staging one of the greatest stories ever told. "600 actors pour onto the stage for the opening scene, Christ's entry into Jerusalem. Over the next 5 months, 500,000 spectators from the world over will witness the story of the martyrdom and crucifixion of Christ. All 100 performances were sold out a year in advance. The most famous Passion Play is also the best-selling theater production in the world. During the 30 Years' War, the Black Plague tore through this picturesque countryside on the northern flank of the Alps. The people of Oberammergau swore a solemn oath. If the plague passed them over, they would stage a Passion Play every 10 years. They kept their promise. This production will be the 40th since 1633. In April 1999, the old Festival Theater was still under a scaffolding. Everything had to be polished up for the 2000 Passion Play: the theater, the text, the music, costumes, and sets. Preparations got underway a year before opening night. There are well over 2,000 costumes to design and sew, most of them custom tailored. But the mock-ups have to be finished first. The only properties being reused from the last Passion Play are 2,000 sandals. All the main characters, the choir, and the Roman soldiers are getting new, custom-made shoes. But the cobblers will have to wait till the parts are cast before they can measure. The entire town gathers at the City Hall to watch the cast list be literally drawn out in a nerve-wracking process. Lots of politics are involved in casting. Only those born and raised in Oberammergau are eligible. Traditionally, a festival committee of town councilors decide who got to play the lead roles. But this time, the play's young director, Christian Stücke, demanded it be cast according to his own dramatic concept. And he even won a referendum on it against the conservative majority on the council, which included the mayor, Clement Fend. But the Conservative Council still has the final say. And the question is, will they follow Stückel's proposals? Everyone's in suspense, but as soon as they see who's been picked to play Jesus, they have their answer. The council has accepted Stückel's list.
It's almost identical with my list. We had to go in for a couple of compromises to get it through, but essentially, it's my list.
How did you convince the town council?
I think it was the quality of the actors.
You mean politics took a back seat?
I'd say so, yes.
An important factor was that the town council was forthcoming. All sides said they didn't want to fight, they just wanted to come to an agreement. Yesterday, that's just what we did. We're very happy about it.
5 months later, the oath is renewed in a church ceremony. Even here, it's apparent the times are changing. The Catholic and Protestant bishops celebrate the Mass to inaugurate rehearsals side by side for the first time. Starting on Ash Wednesday, the hair and beard decree takes effect. It stipulates that the actors cut neither hair nor beard for the year to come. Nowadays, only the senior cast members still follow the letter of the law. The others may trim their locks from time to time, but they can't touch their beards. There's a whole catalog of rules and traditions, but many of them get bent to fit the times.
Der Vater und der Sohn und der Heilige Geist. Amen.
In real life, Tony Burkhardt is a forester, but during the festival season, he'll spend more time walking in the footsteps of Jesus than hiking in the forests of the Ammergebirge. Neither he nor any of the rest of the ensemble are professionals. In Oberammergau, no one has to ask their employers for time off for rehearsals or performances. It's taken for granted. Burkhardt is one of the 2 actors in the part of Christ. All of the speaking roles are double cast. The actors used to be ranked as understudy and regular, but now they have equal status and trade off every other week.
You put a lot of thought into the part. And you're constantly trying to imagine scenes and what this Jesus could have been like. You're also thinking about how you can portray him.
For the next year, you'll face the prospect of being identified with Jesus both on stage and off.
No, I want to avoid that sort of thing very strictly. There may have been actors like that before the turn of the last century, and people's attitude toward their faith was different. But now you play this Jesus on stage, and when you step off it, you're the same person you always were in everyday life. I want to separate the two very strictly.
The director, Christian Stückel, has called the main actors to a first reading so that they can get familiar with the new text. Stückel has cut old dialogues and added new ones to bring out the characters in sharper contrast. And in general, he's placed the somewhat dated Passion Play on a theologically modern footing. Most of the actors have been involved in past productions as well. The director's own father, Peter Stückel, played Judas twice and Caiaphas, counting this year, 3 times. And this is the 5th time for the director's grandfather, Benedikt Stückel, in the role of Annas, the high priest. This year, once again, the 2 are taking on the lead role together.
Welcher Vollmacht tust du das? Wer hat dir das Recht dazu gegeben?
The Stückels are a dynasty of passion players. Peter Stückel, his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather have all played lead roles, sharing the stage with various cousins and uncles. But none of them ever went professional until now. Christian is the first of the line to choose a career in theater. He was a natural talent on the Oberammergau stage and went on to become a director's assistant in Munich's famed Kammerspiele at age 26. Today, he's one of Germany's most sought-after theater directors.
Everybody called Christian the theater spook because he was on stage from morning till night, behind the scenes, all over the place.
Preisinger was the director at the time, and he'd throw Christian out on one side, but he'd come right back in on the other. That's really how it was. I'm sure I really deserved a slap in the face from the director, because I'd placed myself in every single scene. I'd run and get a costume and block myself right into the scene. At some point, he hauled me out and smacked me one. They say that at the time I said, one day when I get to be director, I'll smack him one.
Aber für das Publikum da drin, für die Achse dort im Freiraum schaffen, dass wir da Kaifers.
In November 1999, rehearsals move out onto the festival stage. At first, Christian Stückel only runs through speaking parts in the crowd scene of the multitudes before Pilate. Later, up to 1,000 extras will be on the stage at one time for this scene.
Dieser Tag gibt uns die Ehre und euch die Freiheit zurück. Seid standhaft!
Verena soll sterben! Jetzt weiter! Weiter!
Stückel divides the stage into acting areas, determines the sight lines, blocks out the actors' movements, and structures the text for action on a grand scale.
Der Statthalter, aber nur mal ruhig können wir lassen, aber erst einmal nur der Kaifers. Nur der Kaifers.
The actual working rehearsals will be held later in the church hall. For now, it's a matter of working out the choreography for the major crowd scenes before the onset of winter.
Und euch die Freiheit zurück.
Genau. So. Schönster Tag, dass das in der Mitte stattfindet.
This particular year in Oberammergau, winter arrived in November, so the theater troupe is going to have to stick it out in the ice and snow.
Auf! Mitten durch Jerusalem! Geh unser Triumphzug!
Wo sind nun seine Anhänger? Hosianna zu rufen!
Ja, genau. Achtung! Vorderklick! Jetzt geht's!
Winter made its entrance too early. Christian Stückel had planned to get all the major crowd scenes blocked by the first snow, but before he'd even held the first rehearsal, the ground was blanketed in white. Over 2,300 townspeople have signed up as extras. That's a record, even if the whole town does have a passion for its play. Part of the credit goes to Christian Stückel himself. 10 years before, when the town's womenfolk demanded the unrestricted right to take part, he was one of their most eloquent champions. They took their case to the highest Bavarian court and won out against the conservative town council majority. But participation is restricted to mothers and women over 35. This is the first year they can join in, and the turnout is encouraging.
Und jubelt ihm zu. Hosanna dem Sohn Davids. Also, 1, 2, 3 und...
The children, on the other hand, have always been included. Whole school classes help to swell the crowd scenes and voices. They throw themselves into rehearsals, body and soul.
Schweigt! Ihr Einfältigen!
Genau, und geht einer her und sagt, halt jetzt euer Maul! Dann schreit hier gleich nochmal. Also da kommt einer und sagt, wollt ihr schweigen? Und ihr? Und jetzt?
Hat schon ein Talent gehabt.
Oh, he was talented. He wanted to go into theater. By trade, he was a woodcarver. But he thought he could mold people better than wood. He couldn't breathe life into a piece of wood, but he could mold a person.
Dort direkt davor, der Tisch steht. Jetzt zurück!
Stückel choreographs Jesus of Nazareth's entry into Jerusalem as a whirling mass of worshippers at an Oriental bazaar. He has to make sure that at no point does the spectator lose sight of Christ in all the crowds. Every one of the 600 players has to know exactly where they're supposed to be in the 1,600 square meters of stage area and what to sing when. How did this first blocking rehearsal go?
It was chaos, but it always is. I remember how it was 10 years ago before everybody got warmed up, before 600 people figured out where they had to stand so they wouldn't block the sight lines for the audience, things like that. It takes 3 or 4 or 5 rehearsals just to get into the swing of things. Now at least they know how the song goes, where their passages come, and where they're supposed to stand on the stage even if they keep getting mixed up for a while.
Coordinating 600 people in a bustling marketplace is fairly tame compared to the multitudes before Pilate when 1,000 people get into a massive shouting match.
Christian's trying out a completely new concept. Instead of having the people come stampeding out like a herd of cattle, he's having them all divided into groups, and that gives them a little more room to move.
Move aside. I'm a priest. I need room. Out the way.
Weg da! Ich bin ein Priester. Weg da! Ich brauch Platz. Weg da! Out da! Out da! Da! So weiter raus da! So weiter raus da!
They always used to come storming out in one great big mob, and you just had to make room for yourself. But Christian's doing all that in advance. There are 1,000 people on the stage, and you used to just stand in the middle of the mob and yell.
You've got to move apart. Who's afraid of the bogeyman? Nobody? But when he comes, you've got to make way. Make way! I want to see some movement here. I've got to see something happening. You'll be able to tell the Romans later by their robes. You Romans have to come through behind the high councillors. Once more. Come closer, so I can cheer you out. He says, take courage. Stand your ground. Have no fear. But when the Romans show up, you lose all that courage. You run away.
We all know he's doing a good job, and I don't say that just because I'm his grandfather. Everybody who's at all honest says he's doing an outstanding job. Our people are very excited about it, and understandably so.
Keinen Anteil soll haben am Erbe unserer Väter.
At age 76, Benedict Stuckel is the oldest cast member in a lead role. He made his stage debut in 1930 as one of the children in the multitude and took part in 2 special anniversary productions, making this appearance his 10th.
It's extremely rare. Actually, I didn't think they'd take me this time, but they did in the end.
But isn't that because Christian's a member of the family?
No. That has nothing to do with it. He'll do what he thinks is best, no matter what. If he'd had thought I wasn't up to it anymore, I wouldn't have had a chance.
Die Stimme des Volkes von Jerusalem.
From now on, the townspeople will gather every weekend to cry out, "Let him die," and crucify him, even if it's raining. The festival theater's roof only covers the 4,700 seats for the audience. The millions spent on renovating the building will be recouped by the end of the season. The town's economy is based on carved figurines, and it can count on the 500,000 festival goers plus at least that many tourists as customers. The woodcarver Helga Stuckenberger plays Mary Magdalene. The role illustrates the changes in the Passion Play.
This is the 3rd time I've played Mary Magdalene since 1984. I find this is a completely new way of looking at her this time. She's brought out in much stronger relief than before. And I like it very much, because now her character shows more independence. She comes much closer to the way women see themselves nowadays. She was always shown as the devoted admirer who idolized Jesus, and now it turns out that she was the one whose faith in him was the strongest. She understands him in her heart, and I see that as something very beautiful.
Wenn du mich findest am morgigen Tag, erkennt mich nur dein Herz. Was immer du siehst, werde nicht irre. Ich bin der ich immer war und immer sein werde. Du hast mir deine Liebe gegeben. Stärke mich, auch in der kommenden Nacht und am morgigen Tag. Scenes like this tender moment between Mary Magdalene and Jesus exemplify Stuckel's concept of a modern passion play. It's plain that this is no more an amateur theater on an ambitious scale than it is the ritual act of devotions of decades past.
It's always been hard for Oberammergau to assert itself in the theatre world, because the critics thought we were just a small town that puts on a passion play. There were others who wanted us to do an artistic interpretation of the passion play, but that doesn't work either, because it's not just theatre, but an act of faith. I don't know which way the critics tend now. We'll have to wait and see.
Ich weiß nicht, wie die Tendenz der Kritiker jetzt ist. Müssen wir abwarten wahrscheinlich.
In den 80er Jahren.
In the 80s, they tried to prohibit any kind of artistic interpretation and put it on an exclusively religious track, saying it's amateur theatre and it's going to stay that way. The most important part of it is the expression of faith. Of course, that is an important part of it. When you tell the story of this man from Nazareth, you've got to confront the religious aspect. But every single actor on that stage has a different idea of spirituality. We're not a bunch of dogmatists up there. Everyone has something else in mind. Everyone has a different idea of God in mind, and the same goes for the spectators. I think it's important for us to confront this story sincerely. If we do that on the stage, then maybe something of it will carry over to the audience.
19 tableaus introduce the scenes of the Passion Play. They are the work of Stefan Hagenayer, a world-renowned scene designer and native of Oberammergau. He also created the costumes. A number of attempts have been made to reform the Passion Play with varying success, but this is the first all-new production in 70 years.
Im Textbereich
After the experiences of 1990, I thought it was important for the text to present Jesus from a completely different perspective, to have more stage presence and more text from his sermons, more of what comes before the story of the Passion itself. To me, that's the most important point. You're going to see a different Jesus from the ones in the past.
Stuckel is staging the Last Supper the way Jesus of Nazareth would have actually celebrated it. Instead of a prototypical Christian sacrament, it's a Jewish Passover meal, concluded with a blessing in Hebrew.
Gelobet seist du, unser Gott, der du das Volk Israel geheiligt hast.
Was unterscheidet diese Nacht von allen anderen Nächten?
In dieser Nacht führte der Herr Israel aus Ägypten heraus, mit starker Hand und erhobenem Arm.
In his entire way of thinking and being, he was a Jew. What makes it hard is that so many people still have it in their heads that Jesus was the first Christian and the Jews killed him. That's not how the story went. It was an internal Jewish conflict. We're trying to put that across, and then maybe people can get a different perspective on this story.
Baruch ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, urei pri hagafen.
There are people sitting in on every rehearsal. It's kind of funny to me. I think something in people's understanding of it has changed over the years.
The 2,300 people taking part in the production all come from Oberammergau and make up almost half the town's population. If there ever was such a thing as community theater, this is it.
Mein Haus, spricht der Herr.
The Lord said, "My house shall be called by all nations the house of prayer." But ye have made it into a den of thieves. Get out!
This Jesus is not only the meek and mild, but the militant, combative Jesus. And the Sadducees and Pharisees are no longer the evil Jews, but a pompous caste of priests who exploit their political and spiritual powers to their own self-serving ends. These are but two examples of the fundamental changes to Oberammergau's Passion Play. The world's longest-running theater production stages a new premiere for a new Christian millennium.
Well, there you got a chance to see a little bit about some of the rehearsals of the Passion Play and a little bit of the behind-the-scenes views there. And I want to thank our friends at Deutsche Welle, the German television network, for allowing us to use those, because we were not allowed to take our cameras inside the Passion Play. In fact, no cameras are allowed in there, and they ask you to please don't take any pictures. However, some people do sneak them, you know.
They always do that. And that was a break for you. For once, you didn't have to have that camera floating around up on your shoulder or wherever it has to be. You got to enjoy the
Well,
play.
you know, after sitting there for 3-4 hours before the break, you get a little saddle sore,
That's
you know,
right.
and having a camera on your shoulder. So yeah, you're right. I was very thankful that that happened. Anyway, there are more views here of the beautiful, beautiful village of Oberammergau, and whether it's Passion Play year or not, this village is a wonderful place to visit. Even in the wintertime, you can walk right down the end of the main street and go skiing. And there's a lot of mountain climbing or hiking, a lot of beautiful trails of these mountains that come right down here. And of course, you don't want to miss the wood carvings. The wood carving, of course, is what Oberammergau is really noted for.
I think what impressed me the most, not even the wood carvings, although they were beautiful, I loved the decorations, the artistry that they showed on the fronts of the facades of the house. And everywhere you walked and everywhere you looked, there was artists working.
Really wonderful. Betty, time for us to say goodbye, but if people want to find out about our upcoming trips, they should give you a call at
488-7443.